come on down. Let's debate the proposition that we're going to do anything other than spend more money that we don't have. I'll wait for the takers, because the fact is, it's true. And it's both sides of the aisle. Because here's what will happen. Next year, Republicans will be in control. Next year, there'll be all sorts of debate about appropriations bills. We'll go through all the motions. Maybe we'll pass some really good appropriations bill that holds spending in check to inflation, or frozen at 22 levels, or whatever. Come up with something. Anything any normal budget, family, business would do. Our guys will come down and do all that. Say, oh, proud, woo, yay, look at us. We just passed something that is fiscally responsible. Even if it's not, we'll say it is. Then what? We'll barrel forward. The Senate won't accept it. Sometime in August or September, right before a big government shutdown threat, senators will say, we're not taking that. Whole bunch of people will say, oh no, defense, they need their appropriations. Whole bunch of people will say, we need non-defense discretionary. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we just spend it all? Let's just do that. Let's just say, yeah, we'll get a 10% increase for non-defense discretionary and a 10% increase for defense, and we'll just call it a day and say, well done us. We just spent our children's inheritance so we can go give a speech saying how, yay, we helped our military. Yay, we wrote a whole bunch more checks for a whole bunch more government bureaucrats and agencies because we have more grants and more programs to promise you more stuff at the United States House of Free Stuff, and we're just going to dole that out without regard to any responsibility whatsoever. And not one member of this body can refute what I just said other than the maybe hyperbolic examples, although I don't know that they're that hyperbolic. I'll wait and see next September where we are on the numbers, because inflation's high, don't you understand, Chip? So why don't we just spend at inflation levels? Oh, good, so let's just increase the entire budget of the United States by 8, 9, 10% when we're $32 trillion in debt and when mandatory spending is on autopilot to continue just to blow through the roof. Oh, and what about those interest rate payments? Oh, those have gotten a little crazy, huh? Sitting here with now 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% interest. Woo! Didn't see that one coming, did we? Except that we did, but we didn't care, because both sides will retreat to their postures, and then they'll just kind of throw their hands up and say, Chip, it just is what it is. Biden's president, you need 60 in the Senate, we got a thin majority, so man, what are we going to do? And here we sit. And I'll give this speech again in January, and I'll give it again in March, and I'll give it again in May, and then we'll be here in September, and I hope someone can prove me wrong, but I'll take the bet. There'll either be a CR, because we can't come to an agreement, which means we're spending at this year's levels, which is, I guess, somewhat fiscally better, but bad for defense and bad for how you do things, or there'll be a massive bunch of spending. That's it. Those are your choices. There will not be reasonable, sit down, do the job of what we're supposed to do. I believe I'm going to get in trouble about, I need to go do a radio interview, so I think I'm going to have to walk off the floor now. But here's the thing. I'm just asking any one of the members of either side of the aisle to say, are we going to stop doing that? At some point, are we going to stop doing that? Stop spending money we don't have. Stop cooking all these bills up in back rooms and dropping them on the floor like happened just today with a 4,400-page, $860 billion National Defense Authorization Act, airdropped onto the floor, take it or leave it. So I left it, and I have to vote against defense, which is not exactly where I want to be. But I'm sure as heck not going to continue to go down this road and look at my kids and grandkids one day and say, well, too bad, your country's bankrupt. I hope my colleagues will wake up tomorrow and say they want to avoid having to say the same thing to their kids or grandkids. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield back.